And now, it's time for the RPM Podcast. And you were just petting your laptop.
So, no, no, it's actually a technical problem.
It's frozen on bustyasianbeauties.com right
No!
now.
All right, you ready for me to have an Eric Brennan moment? Race fans are kind of ignorant because... So this is what you sound like, Eric. So, because...
That's fantastic.
But it's because it's not explained to them.
How the am I going to edit this?
He dropped the F-bomb.
You know what? You.
Oh, man.
All right, I guess that's time for a break, Josh.
I've been struggling to find the right words tonight.
Good evening, and welcome to the 93rd episode of the RPM Podcast. I am your substitute host, Sam Bauer Jr., alongside Scott Riggleman. Scott, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Fantastic. And then we got Willie Davis and Josh Matthews in the Matthews Family Studio down in Waretown, USA. How are you guys?
Doing all right.
I'm here. That's all.
You're there with Willie Davis.
Oh, pray for me.
Yeah, right.
I'm sober today.
He said that, not me. Anyway.
Willie Davis joined some of the elite company of being more. This is like, what, your second time on the show, Willie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we just loved you so much we had to have you come back.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Rendo was the one that actually loved me on that episode.
Right. And Rendo's nowhere to be found, just like our normal host, Eric Brennan.
He's in traffic, which is the name of a bar.
Apparently now he must be working the corners down there. I guess the STDs are better benefits than being a New York City electrician, I'll tell you that.
Probably.
Hold on. What the hell does that mean?
So anyway, we're going to dive right into it, cut the chit-chat. NASCAR raced yesterday, Monday, March 26th. Josh, you have here on the list that the ratings were down for the first 5 races in the Cup Series, or whoever did it.
I had a sort. No, I put it there because Eric doesn't put anything on the show sheet until about an hour before we start, and
right.
Which means that when he gets home in an hour, he would start putting it in there. So that's on me. However, I forgot to list the source on that.
Mine says sportsmediawatch.com.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Sorry, I didn't have the screen up. Yeah, go ahead, Sam. Ask away.
So my thing is, now granted, yesterday was a Monday afternoon race.
Well, this was before. I had this in, I think, from the previous week. So, I mean, we can discount.
Oh, okay.
We can discount yesterday being down. And I think that's understood. Yeah, agreed.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's pretty obvious, though. Though I do think racing in a whole is hurting. If anything, maybe not so much at the local level, but even as much as the national level, with F1 going over to ESPN, Fox showing the lowest ratings NASCAR's had since they've had NASCAR in 2001.
Look, I'm going to say we'll talk about F1 in the next segment, but I will say I'm not sure F1 went to ESPN or even that ESPN really acquired F1. They kind of just provided it's like live streaming. It's like, oh yeah,
right.
we're just gonna let you view the Sky Sports stream on our channel, and then we're gonna obnoxiously insert commercials over parts that are actually interesting. And that's basically what happened. I'll rant about that later, and I think Mayor of Shimtown will agree with me on that. But let's get through the NASCAR crap first, and basically. You said racing struggling as a whole. Now, a lot of the things that I've seen have been people clamoring for more local and short track stuff, and they basically want to see, and to put it in a really terrible, well, I shouldn't say that, but in a way that might not really fit, they want to see NASCAR, like the Cup Series, show up at all these short tracks, and you know what? That would be great to see them at Wall, but I don't think they could all fit out there. We started 36 factory stocks one night at Turkey Derby, and I mean, I had a blast, but it was more of an enduro at that point. and it's just it's interesting and it can be fun to watch, but it's not going to be the same product. And I know they want to change, but I don't think that's what they want to go to.
Scott, we talk a lot about it on the show about local racing, and you being a local race car driver, just like Josh. Do you think that would be an issue of the amount of cars on the track for a track like the size of Wall Stadium or Evergreen or something like that to have a national event like, the trucks come?
I mean, it would be a little bit, but I think the bigger problem is just the facility itself. I mean, Wall Stadium can barely handle Turkey Derby with 5,000 people in the grandstand, right. With they only have so much parking, so many bathrooms there. Another reason why I think the ratings might be down, maybe it's the chase system. Maybe people aren't watching the regular season anymore. They're just the casual fans just waiting for when it gets to the chase. And, like I'm a casual baseball fan, and I don't really pay attention to baseball until they get to the World Series, So we might be losing the casual fan watching the races on TV because, to them, these races don't mean much. They'll just wait until it gets to the chase time,
Right. And I think that's
catch
a fair
the
point.
headlines, basically, is
Right.
water cooler
Right.
talk.
Well, who did make headlines this weekend at Martinsville? Clint Boyer finally snatched a 190 race winless streak in Martinsville. Willie, I don't know if you caught the end of the Cup race yesterday. Did you watch it? Did you like what you saw?
I mean, I thought the truck race was a little bit better because the truck guys actually seem like they're actually battling like the local guys do, where they're trying to make it to that next level. And then right now in the Cup Series, you really have that mixture of you have the veterans that have been there for years, and then the guys who are trying to prove themselves, like Chase Elliott and all them. So I think Clint Boyer getting this winless streak snapped. Do I think he's a good driver? Yes. Do I think he should still be at the top because of what I've seen him do at other tracks? Not really.
Yeah, I agree with you, Josh, with you honking on that. I mean, Clint Boyer really put a whooping on those guys yesterday, and he's been running great all year. I mean, he's been hanging around the top 10 all year, and he just smoked the field yesterday. He really did a great job. And, to say what Willie's saying, he might be a little right because it might not have been really all Clint Boyer. I mean, the Stewart-Haas cars are just so dominant right now, but it was Clint ran a great race, and it was great to see him get the win.
Well, I think we live in a day and age now in NASCAR where if you don't win the first two segments in the race, you're kind of not seen as a dominant race car driver. We have guys like Kevin Harvick as of late, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. They all just like kind of kick ass for the whole race, and all of a sudden they win the race. But you have a guy like Clint Boyer who comes on strong towards the end of the race, like the way NASCAR was 10 years ago, and maybe guys like Willie may not see Clint Boyer as the real deal because of that. But I mean, sorry, Willie, I think you're outnumbered here. I agree with Josh. And God,
well, no,
God,
I'm not. What I'm really saying is like I've seen him drive at like the mile and a half. I think he's a short track driver. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like
I think he had a couple strong performances, even mid to late last year, because I mean he went through let's just call it adversity. I mean, and not like fighting a personal or health battle or something like that, but a team switch. How long ago, Sam? I mean, this is on you for stats, because
He 2 years ago he was driving with H. Scott Motorsports. Mm-hmm. Before that was the fallout between Michael Waltrip Racing and him. I think his last win was in Charlotte in 2012. Yeah, I think they said 6 years ago or something like that. I mean,
he was right. With Waltrip Racing when they were struggling. Then he had to struggle through the Harry Scott year. just to wait for Stewart to retire. He thought that ride was going to be a little bit better. I did too because it was affiliated with Hendrick, but it was a shoestring budget team and. They really didn't get the great equipment that
they
everybody
had a couple,
thought they were going to
get. Decent performances, but then maybe it would go away at the end, and bad luck. I mean, which is kind of a Haas thing over the past weekend. But beyond that, it was good to see him back there because I mean, I may not be the full true 609 redneck that I should be down here, but I think that he and Truex can kind of speak to that and. It just, even if you were more of like a Kyle Busch fan or a Chase Elliott fan or whatever, I don't think many people would be upset to see Boyers take that win. I think it was feel good for a lot of people.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was for me. And even Nancy was texting me. She's like, "This is great that Clint's got a shot to win this race." And then when he did win, she was very happy for him too. So was I. And it's just great for NASCAR as a whole just to get someone new in victory lane. You know what I'm saying?
And this puts him in the chase now too.
It puts him in the chase, and I think he's going to be a contender in the chase. I think he's going to be.
Unlike Austin Dillon, who's I think is going to be just a wasted spot in the chase.
Oh, was he back to bulldozing again? I saw.
I mean, come on. We still have enough races in the season that he might not make the chase if we could get enough race winners.
All right, technical possibility, but I'm going to say unlikely. And I think the 78 team has kind of found their footing again because I mean they had a rough weekend. I mean they kept saying over and over again, short run car. They have a short run car, and they did, but they managed to hang in there for fourth at the end. I mean, like they got themselves in a better position after the pit stops, and they hung on. Yeah. And there was some passing going on out there, so it wasn't a small feat.
Right. And I mean, if you look going back to teams as a whole, I mean, Truex is representing Furniture Row fantastically. You have Stuart Haas. I think all four cars finished in the top 14 with Eric Amarillo finishing 14th. I just think as an organization,
is that
whatever. I think as an organization overall, not on the F1 side, but on the stock car side, Amarillo and the Haas guys know exactly what they're doing.
I just call him Eric.
Regardless, he spells his name stupidly. It's without an E. I mean, who's
no. The problem is more the C at the end.
Right. Right. But
while we're talking about Eric, I want to bring something up too that we talked about in the show last week. We talked about the Martinsville hot dogs switching back to Jesse James hot dogs or Jesse Jones hot dogs, whatever they're called, and not being Smithfield. And we were wondering what was up with that. One thing I did notice during the race, Smithfield wasn't even on Eric's car for the Martinsville race. They had Mobile One on. So I'm sure that the hot dog deal was sponsorship driven, and Smithfield decided not to sponsor that race, or maybe they lost the hot dogs deal and they pulled out of that deal altogether.
Think about
might have stayed out of that area because they said, all right, we lost, that was our competition. We've lost that battle, so F it, we'll go elsewhere.
Yeah, but Mobile One step in for this race, and we'll take over our next race. So it's just weird that Smithfield went from all in at Martinsville with the hot dogs and sponsoring the car to a very limited presence there.
Well, you see, Scott, not many people know that Smithfield actually sponsors Eric Brennan's studio that he does the podcast in because they give him free hot dogs. So maybe that's where it comes. So the money that went to the Martinsville hot dogs went to Eric Brennan's studio in Staten Island.
Hey, I got a
that's not being used.
I got a tinfoil hat moment. Wasn't 5 Hour Energy on Truex's car this week along with Bass Pro? Is that what I remember seeing? And wasn't that Clint Boyer's big sponsor for quite some time?
Yeah, I thought the same thing, Josh. I thought the same thing because it's called the 5 Hour Energy fastest move of the race or something like that, most alert move of the race, and they gave it to Clint Boyer.
Was
that a painful moment? I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? I think Clint Boyer and 5 Hour, they split up on good terms. 5 Hour was a good sponsor, but it wasn't a great sponsor. When teams were looking for $20 million, they were bringing 10 or 11 million.
I just wanted to have some fun with this. Yeah,
I understand that. But the 5 Hour deal on Truex's car looks pretty cool. It kind of goes with the Bass Pro Shop deal. Sometimes you get two different sponsors on a car and it doesn't look good together on the car. This time it looked good. I mean, the colors matched. It looked good,
I want to talk about something. Martinsville, I think we can all agree. I mean, a lot of people are talking we need more short tracks, and NASCAR needs more of that, and it's a big race. Why were there only 38 cars?
Because it's not cheap and because of the charter system.
And think about
Does that answer your question?
How bad the cars normally come out of the short tracks.
I disagree because I know they're going to get beaten up, but that's to me that's mostly sheet metal damage. I mean, how often do you see out of Martinsville a car end up like Larson's did? Where the whole front half. I mean, that's
what I miss.
Damage.
Though is where you used to have those cars still being competitive in the race.
Exactly, and the same
I
kind of
miss
goes
those
for Bristol.
days. Can we go back to that?
I'd say Martinsville and Bristol, where
you'd
Aero
have
is
half
not a big
the
deal.
field looking like a modified and half the field looking like a regular stock car.
But that's sheet metal. That's why does that make it that much more expensive than say Phoenix.
Well, because it's no longer sheet metal.
There's
still sheet metal on the cars, but a lot of it they're going to composite.
The Cup Series hasn't yet. But what I'm getting at is I mean at that race where my point is that without even really trying, all you had to do is make a lap and you could get in.
Right.
Like Morgan Shepherd could have run this damn race.
I was just going to mention that, Josh. I said the thing that makes your little story here, gain ground is that the Xfinity series was off. Maybe an Xfinity series could have said, "Hey, let's go do the Cup race."
Yeah.
We're off. We're not doing anything. We got the equipment. We just got to buy the licenses and boost up our licenses for the one race, and let's go do it. And you didn't see anybody like that step in and do it.
Well, I think it's also realistically the fact that this isn't a super speedway race where you can get in a car and move from last to first in like 10 laps.
Right.
I mean, if Michael Waltrip can do it, anybody can do it nowadays. And I think, too, on the same breath, I think it's harder as a team because these teams are all teaming up. I mean, think about all the teamwork that Joe Gibbs does from all the Toyota teams with TRD and stuff like that to Furniture Road, building his cars himself, to look at Hendrick. Chip Ganassi had a hand on Joe Hunter Nemechek winning the truck race on yesterday too. I mean, it's just everywhere.
Where did our buddy Justin Fontaine finish?
He actually wrecked
in the wall.
Yeah, he actually wrecked, and he was one of the few trucks that did wreck in that race.
I know it's towards the bottom. Do we have an official position?
He was running like 18th or 19th the whole race, and then he ended up someone
28th.
He ran in the back of him. Yeah, and he was like
but 18th really that's still respectable.
Yeah, he was running decent. He had a great run going. I
just think we're bad luck for him.
He likes himself in the top 10. He's really striving for top 10s this year. He wasn't close to the top 10, but he was running 18th, 19th the whole race, and he was hanging tough the whole race. And then, sure enough, he got some contact, and he pushed in the grill of the truck and the hood and everything, and they weren't able.
Yeah, the truck was destroyed. The truck was just.
Did you guys all see that last turn though? With Kyle Benjamin trying to push John Hunter out of the way.
I did not get to see.
Yeah, it was good racing though. He just tried to bump him a little bit to move him up so he can get underneath him. He didn't try to take him out or nothing like that.
It was like clean style racing like that. I love seeing, and I've been seeing that more in the lower divisions than I have in the Cup.
Well, I think that's nothing new, Willie. I just think it's just the way that the truck series is, But on the same breath, though, it's that respect, that gentleman way of racing. You don't have the Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin beating the crap out of one another and shoving each other. I think it really comes down to
Denny Hamlin's grill got folded in, though.
Oh yeah,
right.
Who was it that brake checked him there?
Harvick.
Yeah. He basically had enough of that. Which I love that you can do that and not get completely just turned right around from it. I mean, that for me, it's entertaining. I mean, was it a dick move? Sure, but I mean,
Did you hear what Denny Hamlin said after the race about it?
No, I did not.
They said, "Do you think Kevin Harvick brake checked?" He said, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I bumped him a few times, and then Kevin brake checked me. That was real classy." He said.
Hey, at least he didn't put him in the wall.
Well, the tempers get about as hot as the brakes do at that track. Who was it that hit their crew guy? I know.
I think about everybody almost hit the crew guy.
Yeah, I don't know what crew guy actually got hurt, but I did. The only
had
time
to open up the
they
gate.
were talking about the ambulance leaving.
Yeah,
when the ambulance was leaving, there was no tunnel. But I don't remember them saying who it was though.
I should have added that in there. I was trying to update our sheet while watching the race, and yeah, I missed the truck race because I was busy getting blood work and then getting my license renewed. And I am sad to say that when I got my new license picture, the cheek to nose ratio was not what I had hoped. It had changed and not in the way I wanted. Now we're going to talk about Scott's favorite subject for just a second here. The air guns. There was one that the gun, the top cylinder area had snapped off from the handle. Did anybody catch that?
Nah.
Oh my! Well, and unfortunately, my kid decided to change the channel right in the middle of them talking about it. The gun failed, and the I guess I'm going to assume they're cast aluminum of some sort, and or some type of alloy. The whole top of the gun actually broke off, and it was just like hanging in a piece. Like it wasn't.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah. So I mean, and I don't want to go on to the whole thing about how they check them, but I mean that's a failure that shouldn't happen. Definitely, when the gun breaks in half, I think we can agree.
Now, did they talk about it on TV, or was it not really spoken? Yeah, they talked about it.
I think it was Jamie Little actually held it up to the camera, and you see the thing just hanging in pieces. I mean, it was wrecked. I don't think that anybody. I don't know if they ran over it, dropped it. 'Cause I know they'll drop it and sometimes drag it back, but. Yeah,
But it should be able to take that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I drop my gun in my garage all the time, drag it across the floor. It should be able to handle that. You know.
I agree. I mean, yeah, those things should last 20 years still doing that. And one thing, so I don't know, was it a fatigue failure? Did somebody else? I don't know. I mean, that's more conspiracy. There was one moment, Fox was back up to being Fox. They were focused on a train going by in the background.
But Josh, come on. I mean, I get what you're saying.
And
but how cool is that?
I know. I'm fine with the train. Like my brother said in last week's podcast, me and my brother went there when we were kids, and one of the things we enjoyed was the train. We used to walk across the railroad tracks. So for me to see it still there, because at one time they were talking about moving the railroad tracks when NASCAR was booming. They were talking about building big grandstands back there and moving the railroad tracks and not being able to see the train anymore.
Look, I am all for train. I love trains, and as much as anybody. Okay. But they were busy focusing on that, and then like, and so like going 3 wide, and they have to like zoom out and focus on the other train on the track.
I think it's great they still notice the train on TV, and it is tradition. It's almost as much tradition as the Martinsville hot
I think
dog,
that it's cool that it's there, but that the whoever the producer was, or director calling that camera at that time, or if that camera guy just got lazy, I don't.
Well, I mean, the train only passes by at one certain time, so they can only film it going by at that certain time. Unfortunately, some action happened on the track, and they got caught with their pants down a little bit by showing this train. But I'm glad they showed the train.
Yeah, regardless, I'm kind of with Scott on this one.
I concede.
What they should do is have like a Polar Express thing going on because all that snow that came down. How great would that be for the kids? You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you can't race on Sunday, why not have a little fun with a little Polar Express action? That's all I'm saying.
You gotta give Martinsville credit though. There was a lot of snow there. They're talking about 6-7 inches, and they cleaned it up pretty good. They had the grandstands cleared, they had the track cleared. There was a little bit of it down by the bottom of the track where they piled it up, but other than that, they did a great job cleaning the place up.
I was gonna say one of my favorite shots is when you saw that little bit of snow still piled right up against the inside wall on the grass.
Yeah.
I know on Saturday they had plows on the track pretty much like all night, just cleaning it.
I saw.
But not only the track, the grandstands. Imagine trying to clean all those grandstands up to be free of snow. The fans said that there was no snow on the grandstands when they came in on Monday.
That's actually really impressive because that could be a lot of work.
Yeah.
And especially considering once you go south of, like, let's say Delaware, nobody knows how to drive in the snow at all.
Right.
That is so true.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
What's this white stuff?
And I tell you what, the attendance on Monday was pretty good for such a crappy weekend, and being on a Monday, they still had a decent crowd there, and I was pretty impressed with that.
I agree.
Do you guys like the doubleheader? I kind of liked it. I thought it was cool. I raced on at 11, and then the Cup race came on at 2. I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, let's go into the short track kind of thing here. And there's something that I've said for years that for what's general admission for Wall, like $18?
$18.
Yeah, and so when you pay $18. You go in and, it's afternoon. You can get there in the afternoon and watch the heat races or qualifying. And then you get to all the features. And you can get, you normally get at least 5, sometimes up to 7 features in a night. Different types of cars, all sorts of action, and all sorts of wrecks on top of that. It's a very exciting night. Whereas you can pay, $100, $130 for a NASCAR race, and you get one division, and sometimes it just drags out, and you see people after a few beers, nodding off in the bleachers there in the sun. I mean, yeah, there's night races, but at Dover is what I'm comparing it to. And I've always said, you go to a short track, you go to Wall, and you get so much more for so much less money.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And if you were able to get like a double header or something like that, or if they had a ticket deal where All right, watch both races, and it's only this. I'm so for that. I think that's great, especially if you got
but
younger fans.
logistically, for the
Maybe if they
teams,
even made the Cup race a little bit shorter when they have a doubleheader, have like an Xfinity race, and maybe make the Cup race a little bit shorter. You're going to watch 2 races.
I don't know. I kind of like having just the truck and the Cup race. Screw Xfinity. The races really aren't that good anyway.
Yeah.
Truck and the Cup Series.
They're providing my internet connection right now. Be careful, Sam.
They're listening. I love Xfinity. Xfinity is great. It's huge. I'm friends with these people. It's great.
And they're going to pay for it.
You have the Truck Series, the guys that are still making the names for themselves, and then you have the big guys like Jimmy Johnson, the Chase Elliott, stuff like that, who made their names and are in the sport now for a long time, competing on the same track on the same day. I mean, it's awesome to get out and hear Norm Bennett talk about how the truck handled it, and hear Jimmy Johnson a few hours later kind of comparing the two, maybe the similarities and stuff like that. I mean, I just think that'd be a cool idea. Put Xfinity to the side and have the trucks and the Cup guys go at it. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
at the same
plus
time.
when people, plus some race fans like getting to the track early, and there's really not much to do. Some people just want to come later for the Cup race. So now if the people want to come early, there's a race going on already, and the people still want to come later and don't really care about the truck race. They can still come later and drive right in because majority of people there are already, and they can just watch the Cup race. But like you said, you got to figure out a fair ticket price for that.
I mean,
right.
Anytime I go to a race, I always try to go to like the Busch was the Busch Series way back when now Xfinity Series race. Sorry, Xfinity Series race. I always like going to those because I'm the guy that does go early, so I can catch like final Cup practice or qualifying.
Right. I used to do the same thing. Yeah.
And then like actually watch their series qualify, and then watch the race. So I had something to do all day long.
Right.
So Sam wants a doubleheader. Scott wants a tripleheader. What do you prefer, Willie?
I say let's throw everyone on one day. All 3 series. Let's go.
Good time.
Okay. All right.
That's a logistic nightmare.
Yeah,
how can you fit the Xfinity, the trucks, and the NASCAR Cup Series all in Martinsville infield?
You got the gate. Let them drive. They make the factory stocks drive through the dirt at Turkey Derby. So you know what? The Xfinity cars can take those Goodyears through the dirt and across the track and whatever.
I mean,
Josh, you'd be lining
nightmare down there with the pit crews, like because they had the pit boxes and everything.
Right.
I'm like, why are they wasting so much time in between the races? I wish they would have started right, had the Cup cars lined up in the pit as soon as the truck race is over, bring them out. But they were saying the problem is the truck teams had to get their pit equipment out of the way, and then the Cup guys had to bring their in, so that took a little time.
And at a place like Martinsville, Bristol, I kind of do understand things like that because you don't have enough area in the infield to fit everyone. But, when you go to these mile-and-a-half tracks, the road courses, or the super speedways or anything, you have enough area. Why not do it?
No, I agree. I'm with you on that. Other than that, there was a cool article that I saw. Aurora Strauss. It took me a second to try to make sure I could pronounce that right. She is going to be going to Harvard. But she decided to wait a little bit because she's going to race in the Pirelli World Challenge.
She's going to a horse. I mean, she's a very pretty girl going to Harvard, great school, but her choice in cars and teams in the pooper.
But this girl is putting off college to go racing. I think that's noteworthy. I mean, that's at the very least dedication.
It's not noteworthy. It is wifey worthy right there. That's all I'm saying.
It's wifey worthy. Yet Mr. College Boy Sam here says, "No, I don't want to be with her because she picked Porsche."
Strauss, what?
Oof.
That's because I have class
Strauss,
and not
what's her
trash.
family background? Is
it jeans?
Levi Strauss or Strauss Auto or one of the wealthiest families that got killed on the Titanic disaster? Their last name was Strauss. I wonder if she's related to them.
Apparently, she sings and she's a race car driver and she goes to Harvard. She's probably gonna be president one day. I mean, why not?
She's one of those girls that probably has it all, does it all, and just makes me go, oh,
why,
and hate my life a little bit more. Other than that, you guys got anything else you want to comment on about the Martinsville weekend?
How do you guys feel about them having the week off for Easter? I think it'd be a great time to have a small doubleheader at a track for, like, say, the truck. Well, no, not on Easter Sunday. I know
I remember when,
but maybe have a doubleheader for the trucks in the Xfinity series somewhere on Saturday, on Easter, the Saturday before Easter Sunday.
I would watch it. I mean, if you think about those idiots that play that dumb game football, I mean, they play on a lot of the holidays and stuff because it becomes entertainment, and I would watch. But if you think about
I think
red state background of a lot of the families and the drivers, they're it's family time for Easter.
I mean,
I think it'd be a perfect week. I think it'd be a perfect weekend for the trucks to have a race at a track like Myrtle Beach on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
I would watch it.
Their own weekend. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember, but I'm pretty sure it was 04 and 05 when the Xfinity Series ran Mexico City on Easter weekend.
Oh, you're saying that they're not? Never mind. I'm not gonna.
No, NASCAR used to have races on Easter weekend, and it
was
the Mexico City race for the Xfinity Series.
I get what he's saying, and Josh, what you're about to say, that is completely incorrect. Mexicans are probably some of the most religious people I ever met.
They're the only people that name their kids after Jesus.
Right. They just call it Jesus. But when I tell a lot of cars for my Mexican clientele, they all got statues in their cars and prayer cards and stuff like that.
Although, go ahead.
No, you're making fun of me first.
No. I was going to say my uncle was actually telling me because he did a lot of work over the years, and he was down south, and people would actually have right up. They would have their Jesus cross up there, and right next to it, they would have Dale Earnhardt. Stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Like they would pray to Earnhardt.
I mean, in some religions, it's the same dude.
Go to Kannapolis.
We're going to get deep here, guys.
All I have to say is for those who maybe not be religious and don't want to understand, this week begins Holy Week for Easter. Therefore, though Easter might just be one day, you have Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and then you have Sunday. So
what's Saturday called?
It's Holy Saturday.
Holy Saturday.
Yeah. From my understanding.
Just so you know, Sam, and I hope you don't think less of me because of this.
No, I don't.
Good Friday, I'm racing. I'm just letting you know.
Saturday, no. Hold up.
I'll try and be there, Scott.
All right, good.
You see, Scott, I approve. I think it'd be a great marketing plan, especially for the trucks. Cups, I don't think so. I think the Cups guys get way too much publicity as is.
Right.
And have like an Easter egg dash or something like that. I don't know, something stupid, something cool. Make it a short race. I don't know. It'll work. But I think that pretty much wraps up the stock car segment of the show.
Look at us sticking in there on the inside of Riggleman.
All right, that didn't fit into this segment, but that's fine.
But never mind. I'm not.
I had to break
anyway,
it up. Let's just call it wrapped up in a bow, as Mr. Brennan would say.
Before we go, check us out online at therpmpodcast.com. Check us out on Instagram at the RPM Podcast and Facebook, facebook.com/Racing Podcast NJ. See you on the other side when we talk about Formula One.
What's our Twitter? Because we've been invited to talk on another podcast, the Steve and Kyle podcast. And they tried to search us. And
they talk about stupid stuff like bridges, and then they tried to speak Spanish, which just came out English, and they started trashing our podcast. So, Josh, what you can do?
No, they didn't trash ours. They just read the wrong RPM podcast because, unfortunately, we're the good one. There's a couple of others out there that have nothing to do with racing, and I just want to make sure that we give people the right handle for Twitter.
Our Twitter handle is the RPM Podcast. The RPM Podcast _.
Underscore. Yeah, that it sounds awkward when you say it, but there's an underscore at the end of the. Yeah. Anyway, so that's enough for me. Let's take a break. Sam, lead us out.
Thanks for listening. See you other side.
Your Twitter feed collecting dust? Tweet us at the RPM Podcast _. We'll keep you busy.
Man, I had a really bad time doing those drop-ins for you, Josh. Anyway, welcome back to the RPM Podcast. I'm sitting here with Scott Riggleman. Scott Riggleman, Willie Davis, and Josh Matthews.
That kid.
I forgot about the rest of your guys' names there for a second there.
You
Anyway.
were too stuck in the moment, I think.
I was too busy thinking about other things like all the pretty girls here at UNCC. They're getting to me, and the fact that each is right around the corner. Sure, like Claire. Yes, yes.
Sam was just jealous that during the break that Willie said he was a Scott Riggleman fan, not a Sam Ballard fan. So.
This is true, and well, what are you gonna do? I don't have a fan club yet. Yeah. But they're behind the Eric Brennan fans.
Well, while we were away, I did find a secret clip from the last time Scott was at Martinsville, so you guys can hear that.
Oh my God! Woo! Listen to that horn!
He loves the train so much. What can you do?
I love the train at Martinsville. It's a tradition.
Anyway, Formula One. Here we go. What a weekend. Now, I'm going to say straight up that the race wasn't quite as exciting as I had hoped for. Probably, though, the biggest disappointment was that ESPN is broadcasting the Sky Sports feed for the F1 races now, which I know it's like an FIA kind of, they do all the camera work and all that, and then Sky Sports had their, oh my God, whoever they had doing the grid walk, like we were used to, Will Buxton, the Sky Sports guy. I mean, he talked to a number of people. Nico Rosberg was one, helping out doing that kind of stuff. But I'm going to tell you, and I posted this on Twitter, it had more awkward pauses than Eric Brennan going on a blind date with his mother. It was terrible. It was awkward. It was spaced out.
Not for nothing. Stephanie is a very sweet woman.
I'm not saying she's not, but the point is it would be awkward. Anyway, thanks for making that awkward.
He probably hot dogs with his mom. You're welcome, Josh. It's funny. I didn't get the chance to see the F1 race because I was sleeping at 1:00 in the morning Sunday morning. However, I was watching a few of the top 5 moments on F1's website.
Were they commercials from ESPN? Because every time something interesting happened, ESPN was like, "Oh, cool! Time for a commercial." And they would. And here's the thing: Sky Sports doesn't stop narrating. There's the commentary doesn't stop. Like, they do the entire race. So if you missed something while ESPN did the commercial, it just came back or whatever. There was no, while you were away, here's what happened. You had to guess and look up or whatever to find out what happened. It's BS. ESPN sucked at it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's awful.
Yeah, so I'm very disappointed about that. But go ahead with whatever you were saying, Sam.
Anyway, who's not disappointed is Nick Rendo because Sebastian Vettel ended up winning the race and Kimi Räikkönen ended up finishing 3rd. However, did you guys get to see? I think it was the qualifying wreck for Bottas.
No, I did not. No,
I don't know if the video. I don't know if it was the qualifying wreck, but Bottas had a really hard wreck, and I've never seen a Mercedes torn up that much in a long time since Nico and Lewis Hamilton took each other out 2 years ago. But I thought that was pretty interesting. And who wasn't very happy during the race was the Haas cars. They had a horrendous race weekend. Something I thought was funny because Clint Boyer called them out in Victory Lane. It was like, I just kind of topped this weekend off for these Haas guys. I don't know if he was being sarcastic or he had no idea what was actually going on. Well,
actually, Sam, 2
completely polar opposite weekons.
Well, result-wise, yes. But in the beginning, Haas, both Magnussen and Grosjean qualified very well. Okay? I think it was 5th and 6th they qualified. Okay? That's incredible. That's their highest qualifying yet.
Yeah, that's since the team started, right?
Yes. Now, here's the thing. After that, on the start, the lights go out, boom, they're off. Verstappen, who is, I think a pretty damn good driver, somehow gives up 4th place to Magnussen. Yep. Magnussen had a great start, gets around Verstappen. I mean, it was the main talk. You figure, okay, great, between Kimi and Hamilton and whatever, and Vettel, okay, you expect whatever to happen there. That's fine. But for Haas to be up there running fourth, and then Verstappen is, pissed at himself. He's pushing. He actually spins himself out and lets Grosjean by. So the Haas cars are running fourth and fifth. They're,
Right.
Incredible. I mean, not podium, but damn good for a second-year team. I mean, it's, incredible. So...
It's something, Josh, and you just touched on it. I think Haas does a really great job in the beginning of the year. I just think the other teams do a better job prolonging their season to make it last longer.
Well, we saw, wasn't it last year, Ferrari started off really well, and Nick was all about, they're just better. The cars are just better. And then give them a little time, and the other, kind of like we saw how Truex, the 78 team, kind of came to.
That's right.
Once they figure it out a little bit, then they're better off. So, I mean, they may fall off, but, I mean, it was still going to be an incredible race. Then absolute heartbreak. They're calling in suspension failure. Turned out to be a cross-threaded wheel nut. First on the left rear for Magnussen. He pulls off. Then on the left front for Grosjean, he had to pull off, and then they end up being fined 10,000 euros. But the FIA did note that the team immediately, as soon as they knew there was a problem, they told both cars to stop, and they did so as quickly and safely as they could. So they're trying not to punish them too bad. And they're saying, these things happen, but it's just incredibly rare. But for it to happen, one right after the other. I mean, that has to seem almost like more than coincidence.
Yeah, really.
Right. I mean, for one team that had a really good job was McLaren. Fernando Alonso ended up finishing fifth in that bright orange McLaren this year, which is a good start.
And that is a great sign for McLaren. I actually, yesterday morning on my way up to Tim O'Shea's, I got passed by McLaren.
Who's their motor provider this year?
They are with Renault.
Okay.
And it worked out well for them. So I mean, it was one of those things people still had doubts of how it was going to work out because they did have some engine troubles in practice, but they seem to have at least gotten something together. There was something about the Ferraris having a lot of smoke, and it has to do with the
gear oil burner or the engine oil.
They're allowed to burn oil with the fuel mixture this year, which was so. I mean, seeing the car smoke isn't necessarily
what we're used to anymore.
Although Sirotkin was out early, and that there was a sudden puff, like something let go. So while Scott answers that.
Wait, do you got to leave us, Scott?
No,
it's better than a fire alarm, right, Sam?
Right. Knock on wood, Josh. It's all right.
I will say,
hey, Sam, when's the next birthday there?
When's the next what?
Birthday there?
I think he means your birthday.
No, not his birthday.
Oh.
Some birthday. So that
okay.
Girls on
when are girls going to visit and storm into?
Right. Yeah. Because I only have girls in my room on my birthday.
Not what I was going for, but okay.
I'm not.
See, it's funny. Willie thought he was going to make me awkward because he's talking about my dick. However, I just made it awkward because I just brought up my dick in this conversation. You see that? So anyway,
I wasn't even going to talk about your dick, but okay.
Speaking
Vettel
of dicks,
had a problem with
Kimi Räikkönen is still on the track. And go ahead, Josh.
I would say Vettel was complaining about a problem with understeer. Ferrari overall for the weekend, they were talking about problems with downforce, and I'm assuming it had to do with forward bite. Now, we did already mention that Vettel won the race. Now, it was kind of controversial how he got ahead of Hamilton. Basically, they had a virtual safety car from the Grosjean incident, and Vettel pitted. And because of the pit lane, he was able to accelerate, and he was able to get out of the pit ahead of Hamilton. And Hamilton's rating in like, "Hey, why didn't you tell me Vettel was pitting? Why didn't was this my fault? Was I supposed to be going faster? What's going on here?" And comment like, "Oh, we're checking on that, Lewis." Blah blah blah.
And it's funny. I kind of like that aspect of racing. I'm a big fan of fuel mileage racing. on the same breath, because it's like the difference between like chess and checkers. We talked about that on the show.
Okay.
So I think if you want to grow a pair of balls and race down pit lane and be a jerk and gang time, do it. I mean, why not?
But here's the thing: we talked about normally you can gain, or you have to have a really good pit stop, whether it be NASCAR or Formula One or World Rally Cross, whatever. But we in the past, like in the truck series and whatnot, they've done competition cautions where you don't gain or lose positions on pit road. You go in, you come out the same way you went in. And with the whole point of the virtual safety car is to slow these cars down and give the track a safe spot. Now, granted, the incident wasn't in the pit, so they weren't really in any more danger than they would have been normally. But should the virtual safety car apply to the entire to the pit lane as well as the track, or should they, have close the pits while the virtual safety car or real safety car is out? Should that be an amendment, or is it cool that something like? I mean, I know Nick Rendo is going to be all for it right now, but the second Hamilton does it to Vettel,
he's not going to be for it at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
right, because it's thicker, darker, wider, faster, lower, redder, Ferrarier. Right.
Do we know what Vettel named the car? I don't know.
No.
Okay, Nick, where are you?
He needed the Scott Riggleman.
The chitty chitty bang bang.
There you go. There you
go. Christine. And from there, I'm sorry.
Real quick, I think we're transitioning out of F1 and going to IndyCar. Is that what you're feeling, Josh?
Yeah, I am. Although the one odd thing to me was we talked about the virtual safety car. For some reason, after the virtual safety car was in place, they deployed the real safety car, and
that wasn't even like that
why?
lap. That was laps later.
Yeah, exactly. It was like it took too long, so all right, screw it, put the real one out. Like why? Why now? Why why not do it from the beginning? It was a really awkward, I don't know, tinfoil hat kind of thing. So if anybody can get an answer to that, please tweet us, email us, something, message us on Facebook, Racing Podcast NJ. Please.
Tweet us, the RPM Podcast _
Thank you, Sam.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome, Josh.
That for me is gonna wrap up Formula One.
So real quick, just a fun fact because I emailed this guy. On the IndyCar side, not much happened. However, Jay Howard is joining Schmidt Peterson Motorsports for another Indianapolis 500. Jay's a great guy. He has his own karting team. Go check him out. I believe they're based out of New Orleans. I think IndyCar, I believe, is off until April 6th, which is not this weekend, next weekend. So even IndyCar doesn't race on Easter because they're not, even though they're not rednecks, they still respect the holiday. Go IndyCar. And I think that pretty much wraps up the open wheel segment.
Everything's great.
Right. Everything is fantastic here on the RPM podcast. Scott Riggleman's not sleeping. Willie Davis is texting on his phone. And Josh just beat Josh Matthews. So on the other side, we talk about the local racing that's going on in the tri-state area. Maybe some more surprises along the way. But you wouldn't know until you find out. So stay tuned. And thanks for listening to the RPM podcast.
Still listening? Whoa, you have questionable taste. Well, while I got your attention, check out our website at therpmpodcast.com. And yes, there are pictures.
Man, I'm sorry you guys are listening to the RPM podcast. I am alongside Willie Davis, Josh Matthews, and Scott Riggleman. And yes, I introduced them about 15 minutes ago because this is a short show. It's probably the shortest RPM podcast we've had in probably about 6 months.
Yeah.
I can always drag out a couple Scott Riggleman stories and drag the show out.
Oh, my God.
Those stories.
No, we reserve that for when Eric Brennan has to suffer as well.
Yeah.
That's right.
Come on.
Anyway, we are on the home stretch. We are talking about the local stuff. We're getting ready for the, if you're in the New Jersey area, Wall Stadium is beginning to open up for practice and stuff. And the first thing I have is that the tire situation is sold out. Josh, Scott, did you guys put that there? I don't know what you guys are talking about. Tires sold out.
Said Saturday the track was just tech and tires. They said they sold out, but I'm sure it's no big deal. They'll have more tires this week.
Oh.
Yeah,
Good for them.
But I mean, that's a good problem to have in that, you know, everybody's showing up, getting their tires. I mean, it shows a lot of interest in between the divisions. To me, that means good car counts are coming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right. And for me, it's good because it means they sold all the tires they had left over from last year, and they're bringing fresh batch in, and I'll buy fresh tires this weekend.
There we go.
Yes, that would apply as well.
Just be careful of mounting them.
Yes.
I think we all are. They got practice coming up this Saturday at Wall. Scott, I think you're going to be there. I know Brian O'Shea's going to be there. That's some spy secret information.
I know JC Duvall will be there, whether or not he
Who?
has the Rican Rocket.
Oh.
Whether or not he has the racing power plant in by then, I don't know, but I know he'll have at least last year's power plant.
It'll be a roller.
Well, that's all it is. Come on. It's JC.
Yeah. No, he'll do fine. He will do just fine. Scott, what are you going to be doing on Friday?
Friday night,
Frank.
there is weather permitting, which weather is starting to look better now for Friday night. They were calling for rain all day Friday, but now it's just saying 60% chance on Friday morning. Big Diamond Speedway in Minersville, Pennsylvania is having a 3,000 to win enduro. They have to have 30 cars though to have for the $3,000 payout. It's a 75 lap race. I went up there once last year and I finished third. And there was 22 cars at that one, so we're hoping to get 8 more cars so we can get the $3,000 to win money. So I plan on going there Friday and racing.
You're running a pretty cool throwback paint scheme, aren't you? In that race?
I was supposed to race last weekend too. Grandview Speedway was supposed to have a race on Saturday, 100 lapper with the Outlaw Enduro Series, and I had a backup plan too. If that got rained out, I was going to go to Bridgeport and practice. Well, they both got rained out, so now I'm sitting in my garage with not much to do. And my friend Ron Becker came over. He's like, well, what are we going to do now? We're not going to the track. I said, why don't we paint the car? He's like, what do you mean paint the car? I said, I want to change my number on the Enduro car to 7X in honor of my father. I was just going to put 7X on the side of it. The car was blue. I was just going to put a white 7X on it. I said, now we got a little time. Why don't we paint it? So we did. We painted the car white to resemble my father's old street stock, and we put a blue 7X on it, so it looks just like his one of his street stocks back from the 80s.
That's awesome.
That's really
I love
cool.
it. I did happen to get a peek at the pictures of it, and
I saw the
it looks
pictures
pretty
not
good.
even from just Scott, but from Tim as well, and I was like, oh my God, that's great. I love the car. I think it looks great for this year.
It's probably going to have a few more dents by the end of the year, but that's okay.
It's got plenty of dents in it. We painted right over the dents and everything. So
Willie, we get it. You're a Scott Ringleman fan. You have to kiss his ass every 2 seconds on the show.
Hey, you want
Jeez.
to know what? I'm more of a Chris Allen and Lee Allen fan than a Scott Riggleman fan.
Oh boy!
But that's because I got brought into that racing history with the Allens a long time ago.
So yeah, if you're up in the area on Friday and it's not raining, stop by Big Diamond Speedway. They're also having practice from 6 to 8 for all the divisions, and at 8 o'clock they're having a blast from the past vintage car race, and then they go into the enduro. If for some reason Friday does get rained out, they're having the same show, but gates are going to open at noon.
Now, where is Big Diamond? Just so we know, just so our listeners can kind of hone in on where
it's in Minersville, Pennsylvania, which is about, if you know where the Cabela's is on Route 61 and 78, it's probably about a half hour, 45 minutes north of that on Route 61 up that way.
Okay,
I
so
want to say it's like an hour away from Harrisburg.
Yeah, maybe. I know it takes me about 2.5 hours to 3 hours to get there.
that's actually not too far from Evergreen.
No, it's really not. I don't think. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever I go out, I'm always going camping, which is in Tower City. So
I feel bad for you.
I like riding my quad legally.
It's 45 minutes south of Evergreen.
Okay,
Right.
there you go. All right, that works.
But it's a little further west than Evergreen. It takes me about the
It
same
is.
amount of time to get to Big Diamond it does to Evergreen from my house.
Okay. That's good. So we pretty much covered Wall. I mean, practice is going to be free. I think it's 4 to 11 at Wall for the practice session.
I should stop by.
You should. You really should. Get a plane ticket, Sam.
I'm going to be home.
What time, Josh?
4 to 11, I thought I saw, or 11 to 4. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was about to say,
11, that makes no sense.
Wait, we're gonna run it like at a race time?
I got a little dyslexic there. My bad.
Are you going to be there, Josh?
I'm going to be camping this weekend.
Oh, that's right.
Where are you going camping at?
Bass River. Exit 58. Tent
Wow,
camping.
real far.
Yeah. Well, it's easy.
Oh, you're
I'm
gonna
going to bring the canoe and everything like that. So
What's that, 10 miles from your house? You're really venturing out for this one, huh?
This is a nice close one because it looks like I'm going to be going back to work next week, so I'd like to not stray too far.
Yay, Josh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. That said, we talked about Evergreen. There is we're looking to have Ted Grow on for next week. Maybe a quick interview because he is known as the Mouth, and he does his weekly. Not this week. He's a little bit under the weather. Get well soon, Ted. But we're looking.
It must be an announcer thing because Eric Brennan's not here with us either. I bet you Ted Grow and Eric Brennan are partying. Pre-gaming for that announcing reunion they're having.
No,
on
I
the
think
18th
Ted is legitimately sick. Eric has a different problem, a different disease.
Thinking problem.
Josh, how
I
are
think
we
it's
going to
called
have
alcoholism.
Josh? How are we going to have Ted Grow on the show? Is he calling in, or is he coming to the studio? Or?
We're working on that. I believe he's going to call in. That's what we're aiming for. If not, we may do a quick pre-recorded thing, and we'll pop that in here and there. That's basically the plan.
You got to watch it when you pop it, Josh.
It just
If
popped
Ted
in
Grow
there.
calls it, if Ted Grow calls in, will he be the first calling guest of the RPM podcast?
No. We've had TJ Graves and Ricky Collins have all called in the past.
Oh, really?
Sam,
Why don't we have more calling callers then?
Well, Eric Brennan, for one, and, and two,
You like to blame on everything.
it's easier and sadly mostly true. But the biggest thing is currently I would need to either add another mixer in and submix it because the setup I had to return the audio is currently used for Sam and Scott right now with this current setup. So until I advance that, I might need to figure something else out. But that's the short way to explain that. But we are looking to do more call-ins, and we can accommodate that. But at the same time, if anybody has access to a laptop, they can call in right here, and we use GoToMeeting. Now they need to sponsor us. But
They've had enough.
We were talking about Evergreen. There is a new Miss Evergreen for 2018.
Who cares? I like to keep my women in racing separate, like Eric Brennan.
Former / future legend driver Casey Robichaud.
And legend in her own mind.
Oh my God! I used to race quarter
that was
midgets with
Sam.
her too.
That was all Sam. Was named to be Miss Evergreen for 2018, so I imagine she'll be there a lot. But she also goes to Wall quite a bit still. She
Good for her.
just got her second Miss Congeniality for Miss
pageant.
Speed Sport. That was also
Killing
in
him.
Pennsylvania.
How do you pronounce that?
Congeniality.
Congeniality. Yeah, she's 2 for 2 on that one. She's batting 1,000 with that. That'll work.
So either one. She's either really good at BSing or she doesn't know when to shut up.
Yeah.
And I can make fun of Casey because she makes fun of me every time she comes on this program. So
Hey,
it's fair
I can
game.
make fun of Casey because she didn't know who I was the last time I ran into her. So
I'm sorry, who are you?
I've known Casey since I was like a little kid. So I used to race quarter
Did you tell her
midgets with her.
Did you tell her you were a Scott Riggleman fan?
Actually,
that's
no,
when he
I was
lost
in
the
Vinny
chance.
Troya's trailer, and she didn't recognize who I was, but her dad did. And her dad was hysterical, making fun of her for not realizing who I was, because my face really hasn't changed.
I think it's great, Casey. She's doing the pageants for the motorsports show. She did the motorsports show in Oaks, Pennsylvania, and she just went and did one out in Scranton. And now she's coming away with being Miss
track
Evergreen. Yeah, I think that's great because now she's going to be at the track most of the time at Evergreen. Maybe we can have her on the show on Tuesdays and she can give us the updates from Evergreen too and let us know what happened at that track.
Yeah, we'll have her and Ted join in, fill out the, we'll have 4 blocks up on the screen here and sort that whole thing out. But yeah, so I mean that's really that wraps up the local stuff. I know Bridgeport, they posted a photo. I didn't get to check it regarding the 60 over event that's going to be coming up. We're going to have more on that as we get a little bit closer.
And also another thing with local stuff. Just recently happened. I believe it was Sunday. Anthony Calandro having his fingers almost blown off of his hands by a rim, and just mounting a tire for a go-kart.
Yeah, that's not good. That's never, ever good. And that's why if you're working around the bigger tires and all that, we have the tire cages and things like that, but you're never 100% safe. Yeah, they could be scary things.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that's going to be a big blow for go-kart racing. A lot of people don't know it. Anthony is also known as Tony Power. Tony builds a lot of the engines for all those go-kart racing.
His father's the one that builds the engines. His dad's
his father builds it.
Yeah, so it's Tony Sr. builds the engines. Tony Jr. is the supplier of like the parts. He races go-karts with us himself, and so does his son.
So it was the son that had the hand injuries when the tire blew up then, right?
Yeah, well, not Tony Jr.'s son, but yes, Tony Jr. is the one. And Tony Sr. is the one that does the engine building. So
Okay. Well, they say with Murphy's Law, you've heard of that. Anything can go wrong. Will go wrong. Have you ever heard of Cole's Law?
Wait. Now, if you're talking about...
have you guys ever heard of Cole's Law?
If you're talking about Cole Mullen, yes, I have because...
No.
Or coleslaw? Coleslaw? I've heard of coleslaw.
It's a dip with cabbage and carrots. And, yeah. All right. Actually, I think this is more appropriate.
And I think they put coleslaw on the Martinsville hot dogs.
Josh, isn't that when either everyone has to get coleslaw and eat their coleslaw, or if no one eats coleslaw, no one gets coleslaw, some stupid crap like that?
No, I was just making a really terrible dad joke. That's.
Oh, jeez, I quit.
Well, all right, how about this? You guys know how everybody, when people go scuba diving and they're in the boat, they fall backwards out of the boat?
Yeah.
Do you know why they do that? Does anybody know why they do that? No?
Cricket.
Well, if they went forwards, they'd hit their heads on the floor of the boat.
Oh, my God. Well, see, the Cole's Law I've heard of is when you're Cole Mullen and starting on pole and Joey Bailey jumps the start.
Hey, Eric Brennan's going to be back on the show now because you talked bad about Joey Bailey.
Hey, I'm friends with Joey Bailey, so I still mess with him.
I'm trying to get in his pants. Easy.
Joey Bailey started this crap with my poster and my comforter. Never.
Not very comforting. I think that's the title for the episode. All right,
Wait,
Sam.
what?
I think that's all we got. So, anybody have any last-minute things they want to talk about?
Real quick, I just finished up the second Manufacturer Cup race at GoPro this past weekend. Weather wasn't too good on Saturday. However, it cleared up Sunday. It was a great event. Car counts were up. And just overall, a great event. Everything went smooth, and I don't think many people were not happy. So if you're interested, go check out.
I got one big question about that weekend, Sam.
Uh-oh.
You guys had to be there at 8 a.m. in the morning. Did Eric Brennan make it there by 8 a.m. in the morning?
You know what's funny, Scott? I was there at like 6:15, 6:30 every morning. Eric Brennan rolled in around 8 a.m. Or 7:30 or so. He did. He wasn't quite on the mic as he normally is, but give the man a credit. A few beers in at 5 a.m. and getting up at 6. Good for him.
God, I can't wait for the fourth race for the Manufacturer Cup.
Oh my! No, that's great. Go ahead.
More information will be on our website at worldkarting.com. Check us or just follow me on Facebook, and I get all the updates. All the updates from the World Karting Association right there on my Facebook page. That's it.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right. With that, Scott, what have you learned today?
There's a lot of Tonys out there on Long Island.
Hey, easy now. Will, what'd you learn today?
That apparently Haas honestly has the worst luck ever when it comes to F1.
Fair enough. Sam, what'd you learn?
I actually have a list with my little Jesus cross because it's Easter time. Yeah, the camera right there, a little Easter time. The first one is Josh doesn't like trains. Second one is Scott loves trains. Thirdly, Willie wants to be in my bedroom on his birthday. And Willie knows how to mount.
I think Sam wins this week because all I got is Sam likes that ass. And I learned that Will Davis likes Lee more than Scott. So.
And Eric Brennan's somewhere lost in traffic.
Actually,
love
according
that
to
bar.
SnapMap, he's actually at his house and just won't call in.
No. He's in traffic. I love that bar. They have great happy hour specials. It's a good time for everyone.
And your boy Sam Adams is always hanging out, willing to hang out. So, I mean, it's great.
Wait, I thought it was his boy Miller.
He has too many boys and too many women in his life, to be honest with you. But that's for another day on the RPM podcast. Do you guys have anything else you want to say?
No, sir.
No.
Take us out.
No. Well, check us out on our website, therpmpodcast.com. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Racing Podcast NJ, Twitter, therpmpodcast.com. We're always looking for sponsors. Check us out on our website for all that information. Donate on our Patreon. Podcasts aren't cheap, and we're here to do it for you guys. We have plenty of guests lined up, and we love to bring it to you guys. So for Sam Ballard, Scott Riggleman, Willie Davis, and Josh Matthews, check us out on iTunes and so much more because I can't close this damn show. Good night. Go to wall. Thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll see you here next week on the RPM podcast.